I'm in the big leagues, told him don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly. I'm making his dog, like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog.
Welcome back to another episode and another season of CED Connects, Cannabis Entrepreneurial Dialogues. I'm your host, Danny, and as you guys can see, we have a brand new background here, brand new studio. We're excited to be here, and we got some more guests. We got some more things going on. We got the man, the myth, the legend coming from behind the cameras, and on the scene we got Steven as our new co-host. What up, Steven?
What up, Danny? I'm excited to be here. Happy 2024, everyone.
Yeah, man.
Let's talk about weed.
I'm excited, man. And as I mentioned, this is the first time that we're here for the new season. We're in the AMERICANCHOLO studios in the beautiful city of North Hollywood.
North Hollywood.
Well, it's a little dirty out here. Not
A little wet right now.
It's a little wet, you know.
It is beautiful, but a little dirty. But what's going on, fellas?
What up? We're excited to introduce our first guest of this season. He was raised in the streets of North Hollywood, someone that invokes change within the Latino community through open dialogues, through his platforms about local and national politics. He doesn't only just talk the talk, but he also is involved with the community as a part of the neighborhood council. He's also day job with construction, has built a beautiful studio here that we're currently in. And, you know, want to be able to introduce to the show Gil Tejada, the AMERICANCHOLO. What up, man?
What's going on? Well, it's an honor for you guys to have me on your as a guest on your first show back, even though I kind of threatened you guys. You guys couldn't be here. Now I'm playing with you. No, you guys asked. It worked out great. I told you when it rains, I usually don't go to work because it's raining because I do structural concrate. So now we're here. We're going to talk about some bud, man. Not flower. Remember,
not flower.
You don't want flowers.
No, I want bud. All right, let's run it.
Yeah, man. So we're going to do something a little different this time around within the season. We want to bring up some hot takes, current events, or even just bring up things that have already been talked about within the community, within the industry, and then just bring it back to light if there's anything that's been done afterwards and whatnot. But the first thing that has been brought up is, and I don't know if you've seen this, Steven, but the off-the-charts remarks that was made by the CEO.
I think everyone in the industry saw that clip.
And Gil, we're gonna share it, and then we'll ask for your thoughts about it as well too. But off the chart CEO Norman Yusuf, there was a clip that was posted. It looks like there was a meeting that was going on, and the clip that was posted was the security footage that had audio attached to this, and you hear him. And I was sitting back yesterday and like kind of just playing it back so I can write it out. And he said, within the years, Off the Charts Vista has been open for 5 years. Do you know how much money we have saved by not paying the vendors because they went out of business or they never collected because they never lasted? I'm not talking about PCF. I'm not talking about Nabis or the 30 stapled brands that are here to stay. I'm talking about these fucking mom and pops that come and go, hundreds of dollars that you don't have to pay, and if you don't have to pay, they're not knocking on your doors, and it didn't just clipped off that way. And so for first and foremost, like obviously there's gonna be some blowback because of,
for sure, people hated him.
One, they hate him, yes, but not only on the backside of this is the it wasn't allowable, right? Like no one knew that this was being recorded. No one knew that. So I'm sure there's going to be some type of ramifications.
Now, who exactly is the guy who made these comments?
He is the owner and CEO of a shop in Vista. Actually, as I was doing some digging,
a lot of shops
that are starting to open up, and we'll definitely get into that.
Is this one certain name brand shop? Is that what it is?
Yes, off the charts.
Off the charts.
Yeah, so off the charts. And so what's been? I know they've been around obviously for 5-7 years now. The store in Vista, they were very prevalent early on in the San Diego area, and as time has gone and the way that things have been happening within the industry, there's more and more licenses that have been awarded. most recently, social equity licenses that have been approved. And so for those on this new platform, in order for you to open up a legal shop, you need to go through a process that's for you to obtain a license. And right now, like what the most recent was folks that are considered social equity, that you had to fall under a certain demographic, you had to make a certain amount of money. Maybe if you had prior convictions, you are now qualified to be able to apply to obtain these licenses to be able to open. And there's so much more nuances.
Not a red tape.
Right.
Oh,
there's so
many
much
hurdles.
There's a lot of hurdles. Just in general, just to even get the license, right? You need to go. The individuals that are applying for the licenses, you need to go get fingerprints. You need to get a background check. There's so many things.
You apply with the state. You apply with the city. You have to work with the fire department. You have to work with everyone who's permitting you. As someone who's not in the entrepreneurial seat, it doesn't make sense of why anyone would go through this business, because it's any city you work with isn't a partner, and a city should be a partner if you're paying tax dollars, if you're a functioning legal business.
Was it Commerce someone that's trying to be part? I know there's a city somewhere towards out there that they're trying to have the banks go ahead and start using weed money and all that stuff, because most cities don't want to touch it because the feds ain't approving it yet.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of I mean it goes back to like the cities ultimately have the final say as to like what type of cannabis business is allowable.
Okay.
Right? Like not every city allows for dispensaries. Right. So that's why you don't see them there. Not every city allows for distribution companies to be placed there, or manufacturing. Like County of LA, for example, in terms of manufacturing, they don't allow for butane or is considered a type 7 manufacturing facility because, for whatever reasons,
okay, something could blow up, maybe.
Yeah, things can blow up. Most importantly, that, right? Things can blow up, and so those licenses have been awarded to like Adelanto, Palm Springs,
more rural areas,
desolated areas.
Right there, you go.
But like I said, but the point to that is the cities, the local municipalities have final say as to like what type of cannabis business is allowable within their city.
Now, with this guy, he said this with a hot mic, or did he say it knowing everybody was hearing it?
No, he was.
There was a room of like 7 people sitting around like just a table, and then it was a security footage who someone just recorded it off the phone. So that's what made it a little more juicy, is because he's talking like this when no one's around.
Right.
He's talking very freely, and that's the truth. Like,
so he was pretty much saying, "Man, I love when all these kind of guys pop up in here, because at the end there's no money because they're out of business."
Right now in the industry, it's so expensive. If you can see from this video, dispensaries are not paying brands. Typically back in the day, it's cash on demand. I'm not giving you weed unless you give me money. But now it's on terms. And then 30 days turns into 60 days. 60 days turns into 90 days.
You guys turn into the construction game, homie. It's
and that's a good way to, and that's obvious. I've never heard that analogy, right? So I'd love to hear some more feedback on that. But that's essentially what's been going on, right? And so because of this video that was leaked, pushed out, right, there was obviously uproar within the
weed community.
Within the weed community, right? And there's been a lot of call to like cancel or boycott off the charts, and don't go and purchase off the charts. And for me, one of the things that stood out is, like I kind of touched on, more licenses are being awarded, right? And these social equity licenses are typically people of color that are getting these licenses. And what's been happening is what Off the Charts has been doing, and it's not just Off the Charts, it's
a lot of
big names, right? The Stizzies, the Catalyst, these big name shops. The reason why you see a lot more of these shops is because they're probably partnering up with these individuals that have the application. Or let's say you have an application, Gil. Mm-hmm. Stizzy would reach out to you, Off the Charts would reach out to you and say, hey, listen, we have the money, we have the backing,
we got the name,
we have the name, let's partner with you, we'll handle everything, and
just gonna use your license.
We're just gonna use your license.
So they're pretty much franchising is what they're doing by using other people's licenses.
But it's illegal to franchise, technically.
But that's pretty much what they're doing.
Yes. So when I heard let's boycott Off the Charts, obviously people are thinking on the grand scheme of things, and they're not thinking like, who really owns these shops. And so I did some digging because it's something that you can find online. You type in a license number and you can see who owns it.
Give us the scoops. Give us the scoops. What you got?
And so we saw that, like, I saw that there was a few of them with Norman as a license owner, but there's a few shops that as of late just they rebranded. Two of them being 64 and Hope, which is in Melrose, another 64 and Hope on La Cienega. Both were known to be BIPOC, woman-owned, black-owned, social equity shop, and now they've rebranded to Off the Charts. So a lot of people then have been saying, because they're going to boycott, let's boycott them too. Let's do this, let's do that. And so I went in and I was like, let me see, does Norman have some license exposure into these shops, or does he just have a financial interest? And who then, at the end of the day, who's that really going to hurt? Is it really going to hurt Norman, or is it really going to hurt these license owners? And so I saw that for those two particular shops, Norman is not on the license of those shops. So that tells me that there's some type of financial interest as a brand, right? As an Off the Charts brand. And so that call then would be like, who are you trying to really hurt? Are you trying to hurt Norman, or are you trying to hurt the brand? Are you trying to hurt these licensed people, like these license owners,
social equity license owners at that.
Social equity license that everyone's pushing for, that wants them to see succeed. Like, where does that balance hang?
Yeah, but when it comes to like that kind of boycott of anything, you're always going to get some collateral damage. Like, let's say back in the days when they were boycotting the buses, and right, so you got bus drivers that weren't working, you got mechanics that weren't working, so they can always find something to say, hey, but these people are going to get hurt. But the reason you want to hurt those people, not hurt them specifically, you want to hurt the whole industry. That way they can go back to Norman, this is your fault, because then you get more people pissed off at Norman. And I take it Norman's the owner who said these comments, right?
Correct.
Then everybody's gonna start getting pissed off at Norman. And if it were to work out right, especially in the weed industry, would be like, all right, we're not touching this guy, especially after what you did. Because I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the majority of people out there in the weed game aren't really big, aren't really rich. They're just, right now, this is all fairly new in California, and California is kind of the state that's kind of at the forefront of all this. I would think most of the weed people are not rich people. They're just trying to start up a business, and for somebody like Norman who's that big to sit there and pretty much, it's almost like he's encouraged and he likes that these people are going out of business, because that means that's more money in his pocket.
Yeah.
And what's unfortunate is that it's a standard practice almost between all the dispensaries. It just happened to be that guy got caught. Granted, there are a lot of people who do pay their bills and, they understand that value. But no, there's a lot of people who they brag about it.
What is Norman's background? Do you guys know at all?
I don't have that. I don't have that, like, his full background. Like I said, I just know from what I briefly gathered was that he has a few shops that he is on the license on. So Vista, there's San Diego.
There's about 25 Off the Charts throughout the state. So it's a big chain.
Sure. Yeah, and a lot of them he is on. South LA, Van Nuys,
they just took over a shop in Harbor City, a little rundown shop.
They took over a shop in Harbor City.
What was his response to what he said?
So he did have a response, and the response was basically saying, like, he is apologizing. He's taking quote unquote accountability for his words and his actions. And worst case scenario, if you're not in agreement to his apology, direct that anger towards him and not towards Off the Charts employees and or partners.
Yeah, see, he's trying to do the divert game, like, yeah, you can give it to me, but don't go after the shot. In other words, don't go after my money.
Right.
Right. Hate me. Oh, my bank account.
That on his end, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Send me hate mail, but don't go after my clients. No, but if you really want to hurt him, you hurt him in the pocketbook. That's anything. But do you think that is the weed industry ready to like have a revolt like that yet, or is it going to be one of those things that's 1 week later nobody really cares?
I think at least a lot of business owners are appreciative that this is coming to light. So another example, there's a chain, Culture Cannabis, who they recently told the distributor that they owe $4.4 million to go fuck off. Excuse my language. I don't know if I can cuss.
It's your podcast.
Is our podcast, bro.
Sure.
This is how you know it's his first show as a host. That's how you know he's first day on the job.
Yeah, exactly. So, a lot of people think that it needs to be brought to light. A lot of people, it's how you go about it. And right now, a lot of people in the cannabis industry, they want to keep it street. They want to keep it, take care of it, take them out, do whatever. And it shouldn't be like that.
That's not business.
That's not how we progress as an industry or as people. So I'd say it's a positive. I would just say there needs to be more information. Everyone in social media, it's just max 60 seconds. Typically 15 seconds, that's all they watch. So
yeah, I'm curious to know what the context was behind that whole meeting. Like what was said before. And Gil, you've been a part of this situation of being
in the got you moment.
In the got you moment, in the clippable moments.
Yeah, of course.
And just only grabbing a piece
out of context.
Out of context and all that. And so Norman, if you want to hop on the show and we can get you on to talk about it, or even just other owners that are a part of the Off the Charts platform or partnerships, and what's their take? Because I've been seeing a lot of different takes on social media from and obviously there's a lot of anger from those outside of Off the Charts. I've seen ownerships the partners that are a part of Off the Charts that are like, hey, I see you guys and you're not supporting me, but you're showing all this anger. There's a lot of back and forth.
So, have you guys tried reaching out to Norman yet?
Not yet.
That's one thing you have to do. I mean, as a podcast, especially in the cannabis game, I'm new to the cannabis podcast world. So with me, it didn't hit my radar. I know nothing about it. But that's why it's cool to have this. That way you hear, because I am a cannabis consumer, but I usually go to the bootleg shops.
Yeah.
Traditional.
Yeah, it's traditional. Within the industry is that's a traditional market.
I shop for my cannabis at a traditional shop.
Exactly. We're not trapping no more.
We've grown.
That's a good one.
From the trapping.
But yeah, I think it'd be great to reach out to Norman and ask him, what he was thinking, and just to get a little more education. Was it in other words, Norman has a shop, right? And we're not picking on you, by the way, Norman. You're the guy that's up there, and that's why we're bringing your name up and all that, just to let you know. So let's say Norman has a shop, but he's talking about the people that come in and say remote weed comes in there and says, here, I got 2 pounds for you, and then they go out of business. So that's why he's saying, that's good.
So essentially, it's I'll give you this on terms. I'm gonna give you 2 pounds, and I expect you to pay me in 30 days. Then when it comes in 30 days, if you're a brand new brand, your product hasn't moved because there's no marketing. People don't know it. People are cheap, and they don't want to spend on new weed that they've never tried. Right. So when it doesn't sell after 30 days, after 60 days, they're just not going to pay you. That money has been reallocated to the business as a dispensary. So now you didn't collect, let's say just small numbers, 5,000 from one shop. But now if that happens 8, 10, 15 shops, because as a new brand, a lot of people think you should try to go get into 30 shops right away, 50 shops away, when you shouldn't.
In their head, they think I'm going to blow up.
Yeah. Yes. And that's the biggest, biggest mistake, biggest misconception, the biggest, and I get it, because there's these new brand owners and they have this idea and they want to hit the ground running, and don't realize that that's a real possibility that you put this order in and you're not going to get paid.
See, but to Norman's, I guess, what he said, right? In a private conversation, I could see people like that all the time saying stuff like that. I've worked with a lot of developers.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen.
That conversation is happening all the time and regularly. Like Steven brought up earlier, he's just the one that got caught. Saying it.
Right. And I could see that. If I'm a weed owner, business owner like that, and I got 10 guys that are coming in, and in my head, I'm knowing this fool ain't gonna make it. Hey, but he's telling me, listen, I don't care, whatever you want, just put it on your shelf. And all right. And then at the end, our deal is, if it doesn't move, I don't pay you. Hey, brother, there's your weed right there. It hasn't moved. And the deal is I get to keep it. So if I'm in the room with a bunch of guys, say, yeah, man, I love when these guys come in here and tell me that, because it's almost like in the music industry, you can do what you want, just sign me. All right, exactly. So they're gonna sign you, fool. They're gonna sign you. Key. So I think that doesn't just fall on Norman. That also falls on the people that are bringing the product, and
it's being uneducated, and that's why we like to highlight it. This is cannabis entrepreneur dialogue. We want to tell you how to be better entrepreneurs. We want to tell you how the industry works.
Shit, I'm already getting ready to move some stuff here,
because people think they're gonna come in and they give their entire life savings to this business. and they don't know that it's 3.3 million and 3 lawyers to make it past your first 4 years.
Wow.
It's not fair right now. Everyone thinks it's a gold rush, but
I think that's the thing also, as far as not being fair and not being educated with it. Yeah, they should know, hey, man, 9 times out of 10, your stuff's not going to sell unless you just have some major rap guy that's going to start pushing your stuff.
And even that,
if you're honestly, the success is if you give it away. You want to buy this? Okay, you can buy a cup of coffee. I'm going to give you another one to share. That's the only way that new product moves.
That's how it moves, huh?
Discounts don't work. It's BOGOs.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, when I go into a place, I typically already know what I do hybrids. I typically know what I want. And why I like traditional places more than other places, one, of course, is the price. It's much cheaper.
Sure.
But I really enjoy opening up the jar, getting the bud.
The nose.
The nose. Some place before would let you touch it and feel it, you know, but now that the woke world, you can't touch and feel even buds. I kid. So yeah, you know, because there is something about it's like you go to the market and you're buying some vegetables, right?
For sure.
You're gonna get the mango. It's got to be somewhat firm, but a little bit, just an avocado, somewhat.
Sure.
So when you look at some bud, and I've gotten bud before at real shops, right, that are licensed, you can tell everything. And I open up, this stuff is dry. I'm like, dude, this stuff's been sitting here for months.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little bit of a difference. But other than that, I just started talking about my weed expeditions here. So I could see both sides of it, and I think what you guys are doing here, because I was oblivious to all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's dope because I'm already learning a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's great. And like you said, like that's the purpose of the show, is to be able to have these conversations, have representation of people that look like us in this industry. And we're having these conversations. We are part of ownership. We are we have that representation.
You got your foot in the door of the business.
Absolutely. And so we want to be able to just highlight that. And if this motivates others that look like us to say, hey, maybe I can't step into this industry for X, Y, and Z reasons, we're here to help promote that. And if we can help guide them, more power.
And just remember that this industry isn't meant for minorities to succeed. It's not meant for people with no money to come in and create generational wealth. It's meant to have I don't want to say the rich, I would say the business savvy people come in, partner, do a lot of the footwork, and then big corp is going to come in and do what they want to do.
Yeah, they're going to come and buy the whole thing. And then some of those guys that are business savvy kind of know that. And they're like, oh, I'm waiting for my big paycheck.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Just wait out. Right now, the name of the game is how long can you bleed?
But I think that's a lot.
That's a lot of businesses.
Yeah, that's a lot of business, but it's also, we have fault in that as well, because the one thing I hear a lot when we're having different conversations, like different races, like especially out here in North Hollywood, who's pushing up North Hollywood are Armenians, right? Armenians are buying homes, they're renting shops, they're opening business, and people always, it's because they're getting money. No, it's because they're business oriented and they're hustling. They're getting boots on the ground and they're taking that risk. A lot of times, us as Latinos, we don't take that risk. We sit back and we'll be the employee, and we'll be used to that paycheck every month, and it's great. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it, but I think we can't also complain and say, look, everybody else is doing it. Well, no, it's up to us to sit here and get it. So what do you think we need as far as education in order for Latinos to start progressing more in the marijuana game?
One, we need to make sure that the platform stays on the American Cholo platform so that people can see it and know it, right? But two, I think it just goes back to like having these conversations out loud and letting people know like the true nuances of what's going on within the industry. I
agree. It's also telling people the failed mistakes, the failed opportunities, the missed opportunities. Because if I know ways if you failed, I'm gonna try to avoid that. Nice. And that's all this industry is. Like the past 7 years I've been in this, past 6 years I've been in this, I've just seen people fail and fail and fail and fail and pivot. And that's what Danny has honestly really taught me in this industry is you pivot. Whenever you can't see this, you don't quit. You don't try to break it down. You just move out the way. You flow like water.
And you learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's a lot of gatekeeping within this industry. Just through the legacy market, just through like people that have been doing this for so long, they gatekeep their information. And for me, I think that, if we want to succeed, if we want to see others succeed, we have to be able to share that knowledge, whether it was good or bad, just like to your point.
Yeah. You're getting the cheat code, like, hey, bro, don't do this. Don't get your whole life savings and invest in all this stuff and go to 20 shops, and try one shop. And if you see it starts working at this shop, then you can go to the next shop and say, listen, man, I've had this stuff here for 6 months. It's moving at this rate. Now I know that instead of giving this guy 2 or 3 pounds, it's only selling 1 pound every 6 months.
Exactly.
So now I know I can break in, get a QP, and give him every 2 weeks, something like that, where it's making sense, right?
Right.
And there's a big state. Your product might not work in LA, but doesn't mean it's not going to work in San Luis Obispo. Or it's not going to work in Berkeley.
Right.
You just got to find your market.
For sure. So, move on with our guest.
Yes.
Right. I'm sure a lot of the viewers, a lot of the listeners on this platform know your story, Gil. But not so many that are our viewers,
right?
Not normal viewers. But just to give a brief background of yourself, man. I know you grew up in the North Hollywood area. Can you share with us a little bit more of that, and also give us what the cannabis culture was like growing up in the neighborhood that you were in?
Okay, so to make it short, I was a dirtbag in the 90s. Now I'm not. Now.
There you go. Bam.
there it is.
Case closed.
Now I'm reminiscent about dirtbag. No, long story short, I been in North Hollywood since 1981. I actually came here as a kid from Honduras, Central America. I've never left except for a couple of jail stints I did here and there. I was a gangbanger out here from 1989. I did about 5 years, some change, almost 6 years. Oh, gee. There you go. Welcome
to North Hollywood,
baby. So we got the crazy homeless lady out there. I'll keep going forward. So I started gangbang 89. By 99, that was the third time I got off parole, and I made the decision to change my life. And after that, I started working construction, became a contractor for about 8-10 years, and now I work as a supervisor foreman for another company doing structural concrete. I do the podcast thing, and I started making this platform so we can have, conversations like this to educate ourselves, because that's what I think that's very lacking in our community. Maybe not so much in, like, let's say, the typical Mexicano Univision where it's all Spanish speaking. Obviously, they have their platforms.
Sure.
But as far as Raza, Chicano, Latinos, I say Calimac, we really don't have it. We have a lot of platforms that, talk drama, talk chisme, and that's all great. I'm not talking down on it because I watch that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about, but we have a bunch of TMZs, but we don't have any CNN. We don't have any actual stuff where you can educate ourselves, and that's what I'm here to do.
Nice, man. And so growing up, during your gangbanging days,
right?
What was the cannabis scene like, if you can remember, and what were some of the stigmas behind that lifestyle and cannabis use back then?
The first bud I smoked was obviously Mexican dirt weed, bro. Where back then you get in a sack, and it's full of seeds, bro. It's like those Cheech and Chong movies. You got the weed and you're just like pink, pink. You're just throwing the seeds and the stems away. It was nothing like what it is today. And this was, to me, the first time I ever smoked. I was actually a kid. I was like 86. I was like 11 years old, but I only smoked one time. Didn't really do it after until about 89. I'm about 14 years old, and then I became a frequent smoker. By 91, that's when I started getting to the better buds, which was like a chocolate Thai or other stuff.
Okay.
And that to us was like champagne, homeboy, right? Because you're smoking the dirt weed all day long, and then, hey, I got the hookup, and a guy would come with a nugget about like this for like $40, bro. It was like an eighth for like $40, and where he was smoking in bowls, if you're balling out, you're making a joint out of it, but you could definitely tell the difference at the time, which was the better weed.
Sure.
I dabbled in selling bud. I would buy the quarter pounds of QPs of all pressed straight. Same thing. The Mexican, straight Mexican weed, bro. And then I'll break it down into like either ounces or eighths, whatever, 20s, whatever it was. Half of the time I'd smoke most of the weed, more than I would sell, to be completely honest with you. And ever since then, I pretty much smoked, bro. I stopped smoking for, I would say, maybe 6 or 7 years. I started getting really into my construction company, and I was having that issue that you hear a lot of people have, that they say they don't smoke anymore. I was starting to get paranoid. I was starting to
right,
because what it was is I was smoking Indo at that time. But that time there was no hybrid. It wasn't that. So it was either pretty much Indo, whatever else you had, right? So I was getting Indo, and what I found myself doing, and I think this is what people do when they start getting paranoid, you're smoking, and then you start thinking work. You start thinking this, you know, some people may think problems. Me, it was work. So I work with a lot of math, right? And if you're wrong in the math, your foundation is too high, too low. Our mistakes is not like a framer where they can put some nails out and move. Our mistakes means you're getting a jackhammer, you're getting a breaker out there, and you're losing your ass on this job. So I had one job that I almost screwed up on by not reading something correctly, and I was just praying to God, if you just get me out of this, make this PSI come up to strength, I will not smoke. And and it came up to strength, and if I wouldn't have done, if it would have come out wrong, I would have been losing, I don't know, $40,000-$50,000, bro. And I'm young. I'm probably in my early 30s at this time. So I stopped smoking completely. Then I had an incident with my brother passing away, and I lost my shit. And then I ended up, you know, they ended up putting me on some meds and stuff to try to, you know, bring me. And I just didn't like the way I felt, bro. I did not like it. And my wife was like, why don't you try this? You know, and I was like, you know what? At this point, I'll try anything. I started smoking again, and it completely helped me, like, just mellow down, bro. It really did. I could say it really did. I got off all those meds. I didn't like it, and ever since then, now I don't smoke every day.
Sure.
I smoke. I'm like how the guy's a casual drinker. You know, I'll smoke Friday and Saturday.
Right.
Sunday, very rarely, unless I'm out. Like right now, I'm not drinking beer, so I'll smoke me a joint. Like even if I go to a bar with my wife and my brother-in-law, I'll take me a couple joints. Yeah. I'll go outside, you know, I'll come back inside. By the time they're already buzzed and everything, I feel like I'm buzzed too. But
exactly.
But I'm just smoking. But to me, the smoking, I mean, the weed, as far as getting decriminalized in California, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah,
I think it's a wonderful thing, but I am definitely a user of cannabis. It's funny because sometimes I'll be in here, like when we do studio sessions in here, I'll take a toke and you'll see some of these young guys like, you smoke, yo? I'm like, fool, I started this gangster shit.
Yeah, there you go. right.
What you mean? But that's my whole pretty much thing on weed, bro.
Nice, man. And you touched on a few things that I definitely wanted to touch on, was especially at least on the construction tip. Are there barriers like of entry if you do like use cannabis on a daily?
Yes.
And what does that look like for folks that may be interested in that field?
Well, I believe that if in certain like union companies, they're going to test you randomly, or they're going to test you here and there, or just to try to get in the job. I think though, once you get in, I don't think the testing is that like often or whatnot. I do completely understand it though. Like if you're a crane operator, I don't want the crane operator coming in high. Sure. You know, if you're on some heavy equipment, I don't want to. And any type of construction, you shouldn't come in high regardless. But it's just like drinking beer. It's, you know, you could drink beer on the weekends. You shouldn't be drinking beer on the job.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same thing in weed. The thing that I do believe has kind of burned it for everybody, because some people do. They think it's fine, and to me, nah. I mean, you cannot be smoking on certain jobs or any jobs, period, unless, you know, you work at a studio. Like I say, if Chris was back there right now smoking, it wouldn't be a problem. There's certain jobs that you can, right? Sure. But there's certain jobs, especially in construction. Construction is dangerous. You make a mistake, and especially like, let's say if you're working and you just smoke because I know some guys that would smoke a joint in the morning, right? Right before they go to work. Right. If you smoke that joint in the morning, you're on a construction site, you cut your finger off, you go to the doctor, the first thing they do is they take blood. Yeah. They take blood. If they see weed in your system, you're done. Your case is gone. You're going to go home with a chopped up finger. They'll probably give you the other one in the bag, and you got no lawsuit, fool. You're absolutely done. So that's another thing that people really need to look at when they're smoking, or they're smoked in the morning. There's consequence to this. I've had guys on the job that I've kicked out, and this is maybe a year or two ago, and I'm like, hey, fool, what are you doing? Like, and there's sub guys, what? Smoking, and you can smell the whole job site, but in his head, because he's across the street, it's fine, and he hasn't started working. Like, no, it doesn't work like that, fool. Yeah. It's like me doing rails in front of the owner before I start work and say, what, it's my time off. Like, no. So I think there's people that have gotten too lax in it because you hear it's legal. And my only gripe I really have is I think that not just weed, but a lot of cannabis products are being majorly abused by younger people. And when I say that, I say like, and maybe you guys can correct me on this. I don't see the need for like those waxes, for all this, like you got all it. To me, it's like, fool, just get some heroin, carnal. Like, I mean, for real.
Yeah.
Just,
I get what you're saying.
Why even mess around? Just go get some carga, put it in a thing and sniff it, because that's what you're doing. Because I see this guy's like, oh, I'm dabbing. That is not what cannabis was meant for.
Sure.
I think most people do it. One, they end up thinking it's cooler because I'm getting more high, because now it's a competition of weed. To me, I can get a joint amongst us three. I'm good, bro. I'll take 3 or 4 hits, and there'll still be a little bit of joint left over, and after that, we'll take some more. Nowadays, it's like, that's más chingón, way. I smoked a blunt to the head. Well, congratulations, fool. It's only so high you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only thing I think. I think it's so oversaturated with stuff that everybody's trying to outdo themselves of what they smoke or what they can do more.
That's an interesting take, and I'm sure Steven, as the dabber on the table.
There it is.
I'm excited to hear what Steven got to say about this.
That's right.
Okay, so
He put his chest on.
Yeah,
Right now.
he saw that.
Let me put on my glasses. No, so like specifically with concentrate. So me, a little backstory. I'm a cancer survivor, and I'm also an amputee. So I'm missing the lower part of my left leg.
Jesus, I can't argue that shit.
So I deal with pain 24/7, and it's not like a 1, it's not like a 2. It's like I wake up and I'm in a 6.
Oh God.
So I look at concentrates because it's a concentrated form of cannabis. It's a medicinal product. But yes, people abuse it. People abuse cannabis all day long. I'm not saying like you should try to be Mr. 420. Like you should use it to help you get through your day. It's plant over pills. You talked about it earlier. Like
right.
I going through cancer got stupid amount of pain pills, nerve pills, everything, and it was like you take it and you fuck up the rest of your future because you're dealing with nerves, or you just kind of find your alternative. And
yeah, but with Steve here, he's got every excuse in the book. I mean, really.
No,
and,
yeah,
and it's not an excuse.
True.
Okay, that's what that stuff was meant for.
That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
It was like I saw on either Netflix or Prime, they had one document. Well, actually, it was a movie on OxyContin when OxyContin first came out, and these guys were pushing it. And there's this one guy who reminded me of your story. He was a guy who messed up his back during work, and I mean really destroyed it, where guys just waking up in pain every morning, every day, and finally they give him this pill, and it's OxyContin, and it's like, oh my God, this is working great. Yeah. And it came out after that OxyContin was really made for stage 4 cancer people who were gonna die. There was no if, but I'm just trying to reduce the pain.
Yeah.
So like that, the waxes, it's perfectly made for somebody who has the issues you have health-wise, for somebody who has like chronic back pain.
Yeah.
Like there's certain pains that absolutely
sure.
But for Charlie that's just going to high school with the boys.
and then also like when I'm dabbing, I'm not putting grams of globs. I'm not being.
But you know
excessive.
what I'm talking about.
No,
like,
for sure.
Oh, bro.
There's those influencers out there, right?
Yes.
And the quote unquote influencer, just everyone, right? Like, and I get it. I'm not that way either. Like
But they'll say it's because you're old, Gil.
Yeah, all of us. Right.
It would be like us just really doing to me, it's like this. It's like doing the Cheech and Chong joint every day.
Yeah.
It's cool for a party here.
I mean,
I agree, because it's like smoking a joint is like having a beer, and if you take a dab, it's like taking a shot. Like one's gonna get you there, and then one's gonna be there.
Okay, and that's a great analogy for those, right?
Analogy.
Yeah,
because
people who don't know.
To be fair, right? Like growing up, like with the drinking scene too, like we drank to get fucked up.
Yes.
Right? Like that was the purpose for us drinking early on. And so like there's still similarities.
Makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely,
Yeah, for sure.
right, for that. But the way that you created that analogy of a joint as a beer and a dab as a shot, I think that's a perfect analogy for that. So at least with that alcoholic.
So you're drinking shots to numb the pain, huh? Phil?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.